Well, that was intense. Also, quite a cinematic way to end a Monday night. These are my assorted thoughts for the June 17th, 2024 WWE RAW. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jason C. McLean. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications for all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, opinion pieces, prediction videos, reviews of PLEs, and of course, assorted thoughts on Raw and SmackDown. Now, I'm recording this the 21st of June. Yes, it's Friday. SmackDown's tonight. So I've had a few days to digest this Raw, and wow, a lot happened. Normally you'd start at the beginning because the beginning was quite important, but what everyone's talking about is what happened at the end. So let's start at the end with the TV debut of the Wyatt Sick6. That's Nikki Cross as Sister Abigail, Joe Gacy as Huskus the Pig, Dexter Lumis as Mercy the Buzzard, Eric Rowan as Ramblin' Rabbit, and of course Bo Dallas, the late great Bray Wyatt, or Wyndham Rotunda's real-life brother, returns as Uncle Howdy. And it's spelt, by the way, Wyatt Sick6, S-I-C-K, and the number 6, in case you're wondering or trying to Google it. Now, they got right into it at the end of the show. After Jey Uso won his Money in the Bank qualifying match, he started the Fireflies in the crowd, the lights cut out, and we got the door. The door opened and out crawled Nikki Cross, who approached the lantern, then stood up and pointed to the back. The camera followed her instructions, went backstage into a now decimated, destroyed gorilla position where we saw some of the members of the Wyatt Sick6. We also saw the carnage they left. Bunch of scattered crew members on the ground. Some thought they saw Triple H and Gunther, but we all saw Chad Gable with what looked like a bullet wound in the head. We see Uncle Howdy behind all of this. They all come out. Howdy says, "We're here," blows out the lantern. Show goes off the air. Now, we knew this was coming, and the excitement, the build-up for this with all the QR codes has not generated as much discussion as the last time when Bray Wyatt came back. But with this entrance, they really stuck the landing or stuck the takeoff. I'm not sure which one this is. This was really well done, and I think kudos to WWE's production. Fitting. I don't know if they could have done this to this quality level under the previous production. Obviously, the characters were created by Bray Wyatt, and this was based on ideas worked on by Wyatt and Bo Dallas when Bray was still alive. Triple H is obviously a huge part of this, but also fitting the new production. It was cinematic. It was really well done. They went for a very realist approach. They called it a massacre. It definitely looked like a massacre. And I'm wondering about the choice to make it look like people were actually, quote unquote, murdered. I think who's getting murdered are the characters. Like if we see Chad Gable next week and he's alive, but he's maybe in a completely different frame of mind, that would prove that they're basically killing off people's gimmicks or characters and they come back different. I don't know if it's quite going to be a Ministry of Darkness thing like in the late 90s with The Undertaker, where they would become part of the ministry. I don't think Chad Gable's going to be part of the Wyatt family next week, but I think he's going to be different. Also, they're extending this. There was just an appearance at the end of the Pat McAfee show, a hint that they might have shown up there. Who knows if they'll show up on SmackDown, but definitely Monday Night Raw has a new faction, and we're all here for it. Speaking sort of Chad Gable, he didn't really have a great night. He lost his match. Otis finally attacked him and Alpha Academy left, and then he was quote-unquote murdered. Now I hope that Gable and Otis really get their feud going. Maybe it goes to the next gear. Maybe Gable has a bit of a different outlook. And whether that happens or something else happens, maybe involving the Wyatt family, one thing is clear. Chad Gable is not currently part of the Sami Zayn or the Intercontinental title picture. Sami cut a promo just after 9 o'clock, making that point crystal clear. Also teasing a potential feud with Braunbreaker. And then one maybe with Sheamus. And then we get a match between Braunbreaker and Sheamus that Sami Zayn set up, which was kind of like a qualifier match to be #1 contender, though not officially. It was a really solid match, fun to watch, a lot of back and forth. Breaker was finally in there with a veteran, a star. It ended, of course, in the DQ when Ludwig Kaiser came down and attacked Sheamus, which led to an amazing aerial shot of Kaiser running after Sheamus and Breaker running the other way, and eventually spearing Breaker. And it culminated with Zayn and Breaker going face to face. Now, while that shot with Kaiser was just amazing, I think it's crystal clear that Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser are going to continue their feud, and Sami Zayn and Braunbreaker have just started one. Now, obviously, Sheamus is going to be back in the Intercontinental title picture at some point. I don't think he's going to retire without at least holding that belt once. It would be a real shame if he did. But Sami Zayn and Braunbreaker, wow, okay. Braunbreaker is the new guy, but he's already in a title picture with a major star. In fact, one of the most over baby faces in the company, Sami Zayn. Also, I think this match will be great. Zayn's great at selling when fighting a monster with the uphill battle, the heroic gesture, whereas Breaker can just dominate. And this is, I think, going to put Breaker even more over than what Ricochet did on his way out. I think Breaker might win it, but I think Sami might win it back. Anyways, I'm looking forward to this feud. I'm glad Sami's not fighting with Gable anymore. I think this is the right way to go for the time being. It's a great push to Braunbreaker, someone who's clearly going to get it. And I think Sami Zayn is the right guy to be involved with that. Let's back up to the start of the show. Seth Rollins is back. Of course, no one's shocked that he returned. He did recently re-sign a massive contract. I wasn't expecting him this episode, though. But why wouldn't I? Because we found out that he's now going to be involved once again in the World Heavyweight Championship picture. And I think he's going to win the title. Damian Priest challenged him. I think Priest is going to turn babyface. Why do I think he's going to win the title? At Money in the Bank specifically, because the winner of that match will face Gunther. Now, obviously, it makes sense that Drew McIntyre didn't win because Drew McIntyre is not going to face Gunther. He's going to fight CM Punk. More on him later. But yeah, Priest versus Gunther does not have the same cachet as Rollins versus Gunther. And yes, Rollins can come back, win the belt on one PLE and drop it the next one, maybe have one title defense on Raw in the middle. I think Gunther beating Rollins, the original World Heavyweight Champion, will give Gunther's victory that much more credibility, and Priest can go on to other things, maybe get the belt back at some point or another belt, but become a babyface, split with Judgment Day. And I think Seth Rollins returning right now to take that title is the perfect way to do it. So I was very happy to see Rollins back, especially when I saw where they were going with him. Monday Night Rollins. But speaking of Drew, he showed up at the 10 o'clock hour and promptly quit. Now, of course, he didn't really quit. He did just re-sign another major contract. The Rock gave him a sword and everything. But I think storyline-wise, this is actually a really good way to do it. It shows that he walked away, and CM Punk can maybe criticize him for that. And of course, this is going to lead to a major epic battle between the two of them at SummerSlam. You can just see it coming. But him quitting now also allowed them to go backstage and show gorilla position when it wasn't all destroyed, which was a nice setup. It also got Drew and Adam Pearce out of the building for when the Wyatt Sick6 attack. So it was good for this episode. And I think it's overall very good. He did delete his social media, so he's really playing this one out like it's really happening. Who knows? Maybe he'll show up in like TNA or something like that while still being paid by WWE. And eventually maybe Punk will follow him there and he'll show back up on Raw and fight Punk at SummerSlam. I was kind of looking forward to a typical whining McIntyre promo, but I think this might be even better. His exit's going to be as quick a return as Jey Uso's was. And speaking of Jey Uso, he qualified for Money in the Bank. Yeet! And that's what they're going to put on the briefcase when he wins. Also, Io Sky qualified. I wasn't thinking that was going to happen considering she won the ladder match last year. I don't think she's going to win it this year, but I think she's going to at least put on a really good show with a lot of aerial stuff in the ladder match. I think Tiffany Stratton's actually going to win that one, but I'll do a prediction video on Money in the Bank at some point in the future. For now, though, I think Uso might actually win Money in the Bank. He's a potential contender, especially if Braunbreaker is not going to be in there. I do find it interesting, though, that two major Money in the Bank qualifiers is not the takeaway story from this show. Neither is the fact that Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio's, I guess, quote-unquote romance is not the big takeaway story from the show as well, too. But that, of course, continued as well, too. Of course, this show was dominated by the return of the Wyatt Sick6. So that's my takeaway from Monday Night Raw, June 17th, 2024. I didn't really focus on the matches, but the focus really wasn't on the matches, though there was that a really great match between Sheamus and Braunbreaker. And the Money in the Bank qualifier was a really fun match to watch too, both the men and the women's. Also, they're doing something with Zelina Vega versus Liv Morgan. I think that's an interesting feud for Money in the Bank. Who knows? We'll see. What did you think of Raw? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Agree with some, not with other? Let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Wrestling on X, at SBS Reviews on Instagram and Facebook, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. Also, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Tonight, I'm going to watch SmackDown. I'll hopefully get that video out a bit sooner, and I'll be back with more wrestling content. For Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.